Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as War. On this episode 7, we will round up the Winter 2021 seasonal anime that we all have made our first impression of. With your two hosts, F, that is me, and Critical,
that is me,
and our lovely guest, back again, Hikikomorisp.
A lolly guest. Hello.
So, now that's done.
I thought you said lolly.
We will start. We will go like the last time with the same shows we talked about. We will start with Attack on Titan, the final season. Who wants to start? Not me.
Okay. Well, I talked a lot about it in the previous video, and since we are all of us manga readers, none of us are particularly surprised about where the story went in the time after.
Shocked.
The adaptation remained consistent. It's the best the show has been since 2013, and
I'd say so.
I love Attack on Titan very much.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to talk about. It's kind of hard for me these days to talk about Attack on Titan because of the last chapter came out, so it always feels weird to talk about the anime still to me. Especially since the rest of the show will still be adapted. And I think it will be great. I will give it a 10, but I'm not excited for the adaptation of the end.
I'm just being left alone to defend my series all by myself. I'm just on Twitter day in and just like fucking
fighting in the trenches,
boxing with the fandom.
Yeah, it's been really shitty, but anime and animation-wise, the show has been consistent, with some bad frames here and there or something. Like there was like a scene of melt for a moment in some episode. I forgot which one, but otherwise it has been really nice looking, bunch of eye shots, really good composition. The score was great. I loved everything about it. The Zeke backstory episode is one of my favorite Attack on Titan episodes so far. Yeah, and I gave it a 10. Not my strongest 10 because it's not finished yet.
Yeah,
but
I think that might be the most notable change, I suppose, because in the first impressions we were like, it's a strong 9 and probably won't be a 10 because blah 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 blah.
True, I forgot about that.
It's not like totally perfect or transcendent. It's just like a very faithful and good adaptation for the most part.
Yeah,
and the manga still holds a place solidly above. But we ended up giving it a 10 just to like get behind the cause almost.
To dethrone FMAB, which we did for like 2 hours.
Yeah, well, not just that, but like given that the circumstances of how it was made, it's like incredibly impressive that they managed to put out such a strong work.
Because I think we were speaking a few weeks ago about of the shows that were struggling, like Wonder Egg and Skate and stuff. I was expecting Attack on Titan to fall apart completely, but it stayed consistent for the whole run, which I was really impressed by.
Yeah, definitely. No real episode stood out as being like worse or like especially amazing from the other. I just like thoroughly enjoyed every one. And this is mostly the second half of the season, which is the War for Paradise arc. Still not adapted to completion, but it is my favorite arc of the story, and the story is one of my favorite stories. So
in the next 2 episodes, the content they will adapt as like my favorite stuff of the entire series.
Everyone's favorite stuff of the entire
Everyone's
series.
favorite stuff for sure. Yeah. So
I am curious what anime only fans will like actually think of the last arc of the story, and like
me too.
Possibly what will happen with the final episode of the show. There was also words going around about the volume release of the final volume having like additional pages to the last chapter, and Isayama is known to like tweak around with the anime, and he's known to fucking read fan criticism, which I'm sure is working out really well for him. in these days.
Good.
No.
So-
Oh, one other thing about the show, I thought the voice acting was exceptional this season. Really,
Yes.
for sure.
really exceptional, especially with like
Zeke
Zeke, Gabby,
Zeke
Sakurai,
is the
and killed
standout, I
it.
think.
Yeah. Ayane Sakura went full in.
Yeah, she really
definitely
did.
did. Yeah.
And it's
The
really
scene
weird
I like
because
where-
everyone.
We talked about this in the first impressions too. I think the scene in Marley when Gabby and Falco are both like screaming out for Reiner to wake up. That's like
amazing.
That's like the best voice acting that we got.
Really good. And it's really bizarre because I was watching Ayane Sakura in Attack on Titan on the same day as Non Biyori. So like hearing her voice screaming at a Titan and then 2 minutes later being confused about her homework was just bizarre.
Ayane Sakura is in everything now.
She's so good.
She's extremely talented. Yeah.
Yes, there are several voice actors I just keep hearing every day now. It's kind of getting to me. I just hear the same people all the time.
And when me and F watch a show, and she'll just be like, "It's Ayane Sakura again,"
Yeah.
Oh, it's
taking
Inoki
over.
again!
or
it's
Sudaken
Aki-
again.
Sudaken no
Sudaken.
Aki Otsuka or Sumamere or everywhere.
Give me some fresh meat.
Yeah, for real. Or give me someone I like Sakamoto Maya, just now in Vishonen Tanteron at least.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, I finished everything. It was good. Moving on. The Promised Neverland.
Oh,
Let's go.
no. No.
So we were a little too nice to this show the first time around, I think. Even though
Yeah.
we were like saying it was bad, it is really bad.
It is
think
horrendous.
Words can't
atrocious,
describe
a
how
blight,
bad it got.
If
So
you
bad.
flag
had
in the record.
just started watching anime like a couple years ago and you'd never seen like something that you really hated, you would hate this. This would be your first one.
Especially with Neverland season 1 was like one of your favorites.
Which it was to a
Like,
lot
I'm-
of people.
Yeah, I mentioned when did season 1 come out again?
2018?
18, yeah.
2019?
Yeah, I think. So a bunch of people watched this their gateway, or they just recently started watching anime and they obviously watched the new hit seasonals, and this is one of the phase. And then they watch season 2 and they're like, what the fuck is this? It's like when other people back then when Tokyo came out watched Tokyo Route A.
It's
you know?
another. It's literally a Route A again. Because I think
It's the Route A
Route
again.
A is better for sure. Also because
to be
Tokyo
fair, yeah,
Ghoul was better to begin with, but
this is true.
I think Route A is a little bit better, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd
And
probably
you've
say
had
that,
Route
actually.
A as a 1 since the first time I met you. so-
I had to give it a 2 because fucking what is the sequel to that came out.
RE,
Re.
yeah.
The RE sequel, it was even worse. And I'm like, how is this even real? I have to now up my score for Route A because it's so bad.
Don't you love when all things you like eventually go down in flames?
Feels great. But yeah, the show just I wouldn't even call it fell apart. There was just nothing.
Apparently, the
it was
mangaka got involved and was writing some of it, and it got so bad that I think for the last 2 episodes, the
No one
writing
was
credits was
credited.
no one was credited.
I know, yeah.
I've
It-
never
it's
seen
just-
that before.
It's such a bizarre decision in the way that it was crippled. It crippled itself, the story, by
yeah,
leading up to this new story arc and then literally erasing that story arc from existence. And it's like
and then rushing
nothing
towards the
nothing
end.
to fill that in, really.
And even when it got to the last episode, there are whole arcs which are just summed up by one panel,
One shot, yeah.
One shot.
Still frame.
one still frame, whole arc. It's
And Isabella, who was
Yeah.
a pretty compelling antagonist in the first season, and everyone was praising the show specifically for having such an interesting and female main villain.
yeah,
And then she's non-existent for most of season 2, and then in
she
the
just
end,
appears.
she just betrays the boss of the demon child production facility, and just points like a fucking machine gun at him.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm the boss now. I'm the captain now.
I just
The last
don't
few
know.
episodes were so weird. Like, as Hiki said, they were so embarrassed about the writing they didn't even want to credit anyone. But up to that point, it was just an empty void of what even is going on, what even happened. Like, 3 episodes into the new season, spoilers, by the way, Norman gets revealed to be actually alive and have been, like, involved in some underground shit.
Some resistance movement.
Yeah, some resistance movement. And by the way, all his hooligan
The new
friends
cronies.
or whatever, they
The girl.
changed the character. They changed the character designs completely from the manga.
It looked terrible.
Yeah.
Like in the manga, they looked like hetero, cool-looking badasses, right? And then in the anime, it was just some goofy ass shit that I can't even remember because they were so irrelevant to the plot that I completely forgot about them.
Yeah.
Plots that non-existent to begin with.
Just experiments, and we didn't even know.
So-
It's just terrible.
Like since season 1, Norman was actually my favorite from season 1. So when he, in exclamation point, died, I was kind of sad about it. And then, like, without any tension whatsoever, it's revealed not even halfway through season 2 that he's actually alive. That was such a slap in the face. Holy shit. What a wet sock that was.
I think like when that happens in the manga, he's meant to be aged up as well.
Yeah.
So it's like he just looks exactly the same as he was.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
very bizarre. Like the changes that were made don't make sense. I can't understand the thought process that led to it. Like I'm familiar with the story behind Route A, Tokyo Ghoul Route A, and how like that came to be. And it was like this very clashing behind the scenes, like where to take the story, basically, because at first they wanted Ishida, the original mangaka, to write just like a completely new storyline for it, and then that eventually fell apart. And so what we got was like it's like a diverging storyline, but all the set pieces are still there. Like they still raid the fucking Cochlea. There's still all the same fights. Like the same shit happens. It's just changed for no reason.
For no reason. They start and end at the right place, but everything in between is just a mess.
Yeah. It's very weird why the
just
anime
a mess.
industry makes production decisions like this. I guess they just didn't want to make a season 3 of The Promised Neverland. And that's why they freaking just cut right to the ending without any of the middle.
I don't know if I said this in the first impression, but I did suspect they would just end the show, end this series with season 2 because the manga ended so long ago, and it's always how it goes.
Yeah,
that's why when I hear
an embarrassing.
But I think why would you try and do something like this and just ruin the reputation of the manga that was pretty well regarded, I thought. I know a lot of people didn't like the ending, but to do something like this and just rush it all and...
The Promised Neverland still sells really well in Japan.
Yeah.
People
like, it's
were
still on the
hoping
charts every week or month.
Fans were hoping for the anime to actually fix the manga, because the manga's reputation is already decreased markedly, especially with the ending. Like, people hated the ending. They were like, oh, maybe the anime will fix it. It's just, no, it just skips ahead and makes everything before the ending either non-existent or terrible. So, like,
so funny
if there was some part that wasn't terrible before, they made sure to fill the gaps.
But yeah, in the past 1 to 2 years, I've had a lot of manga and anime end. And every time a manga ends, and there's still a sequel announcement was made like half a year before that, I was like, oh god, this is not gonna end well, and it never ends well. They always rush everything and just make an own ending or something. It never goes well. So every time there's like a announcement of like a reboot or something old. I'm like, this is not going to go well at all, will it?
I've got like a newfound appreciation for My Hero Academia Season 4, for example, because even though I thought it was a step down and like I had to switch to the manga because it just wasn't like giving me the same emotions as I got from the first three, but like at least they're continuing to make them in like a fucking proper way that they're like committed. They're gonna adapt the story and they're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not strong in its direction to deliver the emotions, but at least it's adapting the content.
Yeah, and not incorrectly, and not going off the rails.
I guess.
They're staying on the track.
I mean, when they do have these filler episodes that are always bad, because whoever writes the filler episodes of My Hero Academia doesn't actually know what My Hero Academia is about. But yeah, back to Promised Neverland. There are so much continuity errors in the ending. Like this random ass guy, it was like the end game villain, I guess, but that was there for one episode. Spoilers, by the way. Starts stabbing a knife in his throat, and the knife has no blood on it in the next scene. Like, he commits suicide, and there's no blood on the fucking knife, and I was like, what the fuck? How did that happen?
And there was a real lack of, like, music in the whole... Just at the, the ambience of the first season, they kind of used like ambient noises. It really
no music, no ambience.
But it was just like none of it. It was just the occasional like low hum. That was about it.
It's just
nothing of note.
A fart in the wind.
A fart in the wind. Yeah.
It's like I never thought the characters were strong to begin with, but they went from like decent B tier to D and F tier so quick with this. Holy shit.
Yeah. I don't think it's good at all. I
just love the final episode. It's the first time in my entire life I've seen a climax through, what was it, still shots?
Yeah.
Called?
Still frames.
Still frames,
PowerPoint presentation.
Shots, PowerPoint presentation. They do a time skip where they climax the entire story with like revolutionary plot progression, like things that happen in the history of the story. It's a skip through a slideshow, and I'm like, what the? This is the first time I've seen this in my life, and I've seen 1,000 anime. So I'm glad anime can still surprise me. That's why I watch seasonals. It's the only reason I still watch seasonals. So yeah, that was a disaster.
When will we ever get our reward?
2 out of 10. Never. We will suffer forever in this torment.
All right. Next anime, I suppose.
I guess.
You've seen Dr. Stone.
I watched the entirety of Dr. Stone. I don't know why. It wasn't very interesting. It's not funny. That's probably all that really needs to be said about Dr. Stone.
I'm good. What did you think of the opening? Because I watched it and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Oh, the opening's horrible. Really,
it's a visual disaster.
I actually quite liked the first season's opening because the song was pretty cool. But
yeah, the song was cool.
Yeah, this one was not good. There's like a weird key change that I don't like either. Yeah, don't watch Dr. Stone, guys.
No matter what the shonen heads say, don't watch it.
Don't listen to them.
Okay, Slime Season 2, which we actually have watched, except Crit. Because he's not watching Slime for some reason.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
This season was really boring for Harvard. And then it picked up a little bit, and then it was like entertaining again. And that's basically the crux of it.
Yeah. The first half just kind of dragged. It just really dragged. But I think what it was. I've lost my track. Lost my track of thoughts again. Save me, F.
I thought, I don't know, the first 4 episodes were really boring. I don't even know what was going on. I think my brain fell asleep a few times. And then in the middle of the show, it's like Rimuru goes away for a little bit and fights this nitress? Is that a word? That should be a word. And then when he comes back, his entire village is genocided by the humans. So he plans to do revenge. So the rest of the show is, well, him committing
trying to
genocide on the
become a
humans.
demon lord. Yeah. So basically, he
Yeah.
has to kill 10,000 people. Was
He
it
has to kill
10,000?
10,000 people as sacrifices to advance to demon lord status, so he can revive his people.
And he's got a 0.2% chance of that happening. Which we all know in anime that means it's got 100% chance of happening.
I was really pissed off when they introduced the idea that he could revive the characters because one of the major cast members died, and I was like, "Oh, cool, consequences!" And then it was like, "Nope," and I'm like, "Fuck you! Just kill them, let them stay dead." But then it was the whole demon lord advancement stuff, and I was like, "Okay, you kind of justified it now, but still, fuck you."
Yeah.
And then they did the whole, and then they fought back all the humans, which were all super edgy. Like, holy shit.
Really edgy.
Why were they so edgy, man? So I was kind of cringe, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And yeah, the last stretch, then he becomes the demon lord. Looks super sexy, by the way.
Yeah.
Revives his people, and it was a pretty cool scene.
I thought that scene was probably the coolest part of the season. Really.
And him, like, committing genocide against them with, like, the water was really interesting, too.
Yeah.
The water powers. Very clean assassination there. But yeah, politics and economics, not good in the show, but like when it's just slaughter, it's fun. It sounds horrible, but that's kind of why you watch slime. You want to see monsters kill other things the whole time. Yeah, at least the show ended with Rimuru giving the dragon a human body.
Yeah, and we
so he will finally be a character in the show.
And Diavolo as well, the Diablo demon dude as well, who's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's cool too. He's supposed to be Sakurai.
Very cool.
He also had like a few episodes at the end of season 1, which got me really interested into him. That's why I'm glad he's finally here. So I will accept the half season of sleep I got out of it for hopefully better plot developments in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
talked mostly. That's slime. And the show looked fun. Like, it's about 8-bit to make it look pretty.
It looks the same as season 1, pretty consistently good. The fights were decent. That's about it.
The action is super cool, yeah. Okay, next one. Our favorite, ReZero Season 2 Part 2. Now Crit can talk again.
Yay!
Yay, you start. Pointy fingers.
There was a distressing lack of characters pointing at the camera in the second half of this season. It might have only happened once or twice. I don't know. But overall, I'd say the second part of this season has drastically lowered my overall confidence and admiration for the story. I've just begun seeing like a lot more cliche and just like melodramatic, unearned, like just throwing every character at the fucking wall and expecting you to get an emotional moment out of it, you know? And that's probably due to that adaptation, you know, because significant cuts have been made, not just in the season or in the previous part, but like all the way back in season 1. I've seen like some readers on Twitter who I know, realizing that the cuts that were made back in season 1 actually like have had long stretching negative effect on the next season. And I guess this is the result of that, you know, even though season 1 is very cohesive and like smoothly executed, then this season 2 part 2 is just very jumpy and like unearned and slightly confusing and just like overwhelming in a bad way.
Now I want to hear Hiki's opinion.
On ReZero? Yeah, I thought the production wasn't as good. It wasn't as interesting as the first season. A lot of what Crit said, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm not really feeling ReZero anymore. I'm not sure if it's. I didn't have as so until recently. I had the first season of ReZero fairly low. I think I had like about a 7. I rewatched it after I'd listened to a lot of these guys speak about it and how well directed it was, and I rewatched it and I gave it a 9. Watching this season though, it's just my interest's just going away from it. My interest
like
just leaving.
What you thought about season 1
before
you
literally
appreciated season 1.
But I'm watching it now, knowing how well and the way in which that the first season was so good, and this just doesn't have any of that. So, yeah.
That's like a funny reversal. Back in 2016, I was like one of the few people I saw like in any online space, and like around 2016, I was a lot of different places, like different forums, and talked about anime, and in all of them, I was like consistently, usually the only guy who would really defend ReZero, and be like, it's such like an emotional and compelling and suspenseful and dramatic narrative. And then now I'm watching season 2 part 2, and I'm like feeling the exact way as like what I hear back in 2016. And it's not like my mind's just been changed, because like I can go back and watch like any part from season 1 or even season 2 part 1 and like affirm that I feel the same way as I did back then. But this time around, it was just like so much bullshit.
Funny thing to me, when I was in the garden before, I was exactly saying the things you said before with the cuts that were made in season 1 have now all accumulated to this whole mess of cuts that we're never getting. All this content we will never get. It's exactly what I was thinking before. I was in the garden doing my laundry.
Oh, and the opening is rubbish.
The opening?
I thought it was awful. It sounds like she's singing karaoke. It's horrible.
There's like a random fire at the start, and then they repeat the same fire effect in the middle of the opening again. And there's also like these shards at the start of the opening. These are also repeated at the end of the opening, and I'm like, stop! Just make your visuals
out of OPs.
And the song, I like the song when I listen to it individually, like on Spotify or something. But when I saw it in the opening, I was like, what is this mixing? This is not good.
It's not. It sucks. Good. It's not good mixing.
There's like a really big tonal whiplash between the first and the second part of season 2, where like in the first part, it's a lot of like you're in like a new place, and there's a lot of mystery, and like in each loop there's like very different things happening, and you're like piecing it together, and it's like very high stakes, a lot of violence and emotion and like just dark shit happening. And then the second part, it's like they're just like making a mockery of it. It's like each character gets their turn, where Subaru has like a big screaming match and like debates and just like analyzes their psychological issues, and then they break down in a big cry of tears, and then we're supposed to cry
Story moves
next
on.
to them. And then it's
next
resolved, and it becomes like this weird shonen narrative of like Subaru recruiting these people like Garfield, and then Garfield becomes his like subordinate, and then there's action and punching and like quips and jokes and banter, and it's just like, why isn't any of this being taken like with the degree of seriousness that it should be, or that it was in the previous part?
It's like
Roswell.
It's like playing one of these mystery ends, and the answer arc would all just be every single character expositioning what their mystery was. Like the most uneventful, most disappointing way to play a game, basically. That's how it feels.
Just so cheesy. I keep saying this every time I talk about the season. It was so cheesy and just fucking eye-rolling.
I didn't like how Elsa died either. I thought that was
That episode
Oh,
was the
Pretty
most
rubbish.
praised of the whole season, and I like really disliked it. I didn't like it at all.
Crushed by a giant pig thing.
It was so weird.
Oh no, it's a
So,
hippopotamus.
yeah.
I don't know.
It's just because the season
was a
keeps
rock.
it introduced like
I was a rock.
like
Oh, I thought it was
15
the
new
pig.
characters. I mean, not specifically season 2 part 2, but like season 2 as a whole has introduced so many new characters and like so fast without like giving much room to breathe. Every character gets like their own flashback. Like Garfield had his whole flashback in the trial about his mother and his like childhood trauma and stuff. And then Amelia gets like a 2-episode flashback. And then Beatrice gets like a 2-episode flashback. And Otto got like a 7-minute flashback in an episode that was really weird and totally
the kids.
not necessary. What other flashbacks were there? Roswell is in a flashback.
Also, yeah.
Oh,
Fucking-
the pea thing.
The P thing.
The pea thing.
Oh no, that was from the first half of the season. Don't listen to me.
I
Why?
mean, the lolly?
It was the
user?
echidna thing.
Yeah.
Huh?
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? Hiki has
Sure,
gone
why
insane.
not?
Hiki.exe has stopped responding.
I like in season 2 part 1 you have like a lot of tension and mystery, and there's like some weird stuff, and there's like the witch's design can get kind of whack, but I'm like, well, whatever, it's anime, light novel, or whatever, like yeah, I accept it. But season 2 part 2 has this weird shitty what's this lolly that rate the pig or something later
Yeah,
on.
the Ma Beast user.
I fucking hate her. Why is she here?
Yeah,
She
there's
sucks.
too many lollies and like overly just like very silly character designs. And
Like,
I'm
I
just
will
like, why
accept
are you
the-
doing this to me?
I will
Like,
accept the
please
lolly-
allow me to take you seriously.
I will accept the lolly witch with the what is it? The maiden? What is it called? The bloody maiden? I don't know what it's called. The thing that pierces your torso.
Oh,
The
Casket.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Man. Yeah, the lolly
Yeah.
witch and the Iron Man. That's funny to me.
Oh,
Like, that's a
Typhon's
funny
cool.
character design to me. I'll accept that. But I will not accept this fucking lolly. She
It's
sucks.
just like just look at the payoffs we got next to all the build-up. You know, like in the first season, in every time loop, Garfield is like the most essential factor, where like each time Subaru does something slightly different, Garfield's like chaotic personality makes the result vastly different. Like sometimes he'll spiral into a rage, transform, and kill everyone. Sometimes he'll like fucking gag Subaru and trap him in a dungeon, and sometimes he'll like partner up with him and they'll fight against a witch. And like these things happen in season 2 part 1, and it's very interesting to like piece together why that is. And then Garfield just gets like one episode where Subaru just like yells at him to stop being such a baby and to get over his childhood trauma, and then he has like a 2-minute flashback where he's like, oh, I was wrong about my childhood this whole time. How could I not have realized? I'm fixed now. I'm no longer mentally ill. and then for the rest of the season, he's just like this fucking fighting device. He's just like, oh, Subaru boss, do you want me to fight this fucking character for you and waste more time?
Or
Like, yeah, sure, I'd love that.
or later with the Elsa episode where he just teams up with Frederica and he has like these fist glows or something, and he's like, this is like
Exactly.
our family hair device. I don't know, you know.
This is our special gauntlet that I pulled out just now. Do you remember this?
Out of nowhere, by the way. I was like, where's
we
this coming
played
from?
with this as children.
And like we had this tiny as Elsa bit backstory, and then she just dies, and I'm like, okay. What was that supposed to be?
It's
Oh.
such a mess.
I am a vampire. What?
Yeah,
Excuse me?
the episode starts and they're just like immediately fighting Elsa, and then they're just like talking about her ability to regenerate, like we're supposed to know. They're just like, "Oh, I can regenerate, didn't you know?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know."
I am a vampire.
They also didn't show it. Like, Garth ripped her eye out, and then she just blinks and it's back.
Yeah, they showed it visually very poorly. I guess maybe it's censorship, but like the way it was directed and shot was just really weird when it could have much more naturally like introduced you to some of these ideas visually instead of this on the nose annoying dialogue. But that's what they wanted to do, I guess. Another payoff is like, for example, Roswell's character, who like after season 2 part 1, I was so invested in Roswell. He was like my top 3, maybe even top 2 character in the show. I was like, oh, he could be one of my favorite antagonists of all time if he like keeps being such an interesting and like wild card in the element, like in the story, constantly challenging Subaru and coming up with new schemes, and like they still need him because of his status and his power, and like he helps them, but he's also their enemy, like this kind of dichotomy. And then like the very first episode of season 2 part 2 is like Subaru just like waltzing into his room being like, "You're a clown just like me." and they're like, "Let's make a bet." And then Russell's just like, "Okay, I guess." And that whole thing was like, almost all of it was cut out, I think. Like it was really long in the novels as far as I know. And then at the end, really in the very last episode, Roswell like they just like punch him, and then he has like a swollen cheek, and then he's lying there like, "I'm so sorry about killing all of you and all those timelines." And it's like, is this a joke? Is this a character that I thought might be like one of my favorite antagonists? Like, I'm so incredibly disappointed.
I was staring at that. I was like, no way ReZero is pulling the just apologize, you forget about it. No way.
It was so childish. Fucking Amelia's just like, "You're forgetting one thing, Roswell. When you've done something wrong, you've gotta apologize." And then he's like, "I'm so sorry." And then they're like, "Good. Now we can move on." What is this? What is this show? What does it become?
The only character that was like, "No, I will not forgive you," was Petra. Petra?
Oh, the worst character of the show.
I think the only 2 things I really like are the 2 mini episodes, even though I've also thought of complaints about them, and the Choose Me episode, which I also think was like a huge emotional payoff with way too little build up. And the only reason why I bought it to begin with, because I already had some theories about Beatrice's character, because she's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I pieced together the tiny crumbs the show gave me and concluded the character arc. And then it concluded, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me. It was really nice, but it wasn't a huge emotional payoff as like episode 18 of season 1.
Yeah, it tried to have there's one like very direct parallel to episode 18.
Oh no!
with Ram confessing to Roswell.
No,
and there's this fucking obnoxious visual like representation of it, of like this close up of her eyes, and then they start like glowing with water, and then her like cheeks are blushing, and it's like this glowy background, and she's like doing a cute anime girl face like, "I love you, Roswell," and we're supposed to get like emotional as if this shit
don't forget the insert
means
song.
Anything to us. And the fucking insert song, just the Japanese woman squealing to this fucking piano music.
That happened.
Can't take this anymore.
That happened way too often.
I've had enough.
This season.
I really hated the Ram stuff. Everything about it.
Ram has been so bad this whole season. She sucks.
Hiki, you said something I couldn't hear.
Yeah, the insert song thing. This season, I think in the first 3 episodes, every fight scene had the same. I think it was the same song, with the Japanese lady singing. Usually you'd save that for like your last episode, your big meaningful fight. But this was like every fight, every scene that had some sort of like emotional payoff had the same song in it. I just kept using it. Why?
Yeah,
Stop it.
It's very weird. Very weird.
Didn't like
In
it.
season 1, there's several of these moments that are like marked by a very unique presentation. Like at the end of episode 15, it just like has the last shot, and then the credits just like start rolling as it's just like looping there in silence, or not in silence, but with like this orchestral music playing instead of the ED. And it's like really cinematic and fucking amazing.
And emotional.
And this was just seemed a lot more just anime.
Yeah.
And the thing about the RAM stuff, besides that, the dialogue has been consistently corny, annoying, obnoxious, exhausting to watch. But then they seriously try to pull a RAM parallel to her with Roswell because Roswell and Subaru kind of similar. I'm like, I don't buy it. There's not a millisecond in my fucking millisecond in my bones. With an ounce of whatever the fuck the bones are made of in my body. Calcium, I don't know.
There's not a calcium in my bones.
There's not calcium in my bones that believes this shit at all. I don't buy it. It's not executed well. In fact, I actually hate the concept on paper. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it written. I don't want it to exist.
I don't want to see this anymore.
I don't think. I'm gonna leave myself out of the window, but I don't believe the books will be able to justify to me that shit either. I don't want this plotline.
So
I don't
issues.
want Ram to be in love with Roswell in the similar way Ram is in love with Subaru for the sake of parallelism. I don't care. I don't want it. Get it away from me. No, you don't get to do that.
With just the way that the writing is done, like the way the dialogue is written, and like how the scenes are structured. Like there's so many scenes where characters will like stand 15 meters away from each other and just like aggressively have a discussion. And like there's one scene where like Ram is pointing at Roswell with like a magic wand, which she got from somewhere. And they're just like talking there for 10 minutes. And I'm just like, what? Why aren't any of the characters like reacting or doing things like a normal human being? It's so bizarre. I can't. Another payoff that was very, very poor. The rabbits in season 2, part 1. The rabbits are like this incredibly terrifying, horrific enemy that like kills everyone and brutally murders Subaru, like eating him inside out. And then they just show up again in the finale of part 2, and then they just do like a little magic trick, and then they just kill them all.
They get annihilated, yeah.
And Amelia just like makes this dumb joke where Subaru's like, Amelia, now you can do the magic. And then Amelia's like, you're so good, Subaru. You're always so good. I'm like, what? You've done such a good job.
Actually painful. But yeah.
I've started liking Amelia less. That's
no,
a big tragedy. Amelia's character, I didn't feel like her flashback really added to it. I didn't feel like
that was the worst part for me.
Like her kind of arc about being such a terrible girl like benefited her at all, because it wasn't convincing.
Regulus kind of cool though.
Clumsily executed. Well, Regulus is cool, yeah. He's just the most extreme example of how the characters never shut up. But you know, that's his thing. I'd rather that the other character, what was her name? Pandora would shut up, because she's just so fucking condescending and just fucking pretentious. He's just like, oh, the love of a mother and child. It's so nice to see. Just making these like really generic ass villain commentary on everything that happens, and it's just like, you don't have any personality. You're just the fucking generic villain archetype with some weird power.
And also, what was I going to talk about? Yeah, you know when you watch something and a scene unfolds and the music picks up and you look at it like, don't say it. Don't say what I think you will say. And then they say, yeah, fuck! That's how I felt when I watched the I Love You scene by Rom. I hated it.
That was like the whole season. I was like, oh, I know what they're gonna do. Please don't. Please don't. That's so corny. Please. And then they do it every time.
Don't say it.
Every time they did it. I'm like, yep. That is the most obvious way to handle this scene.
Yeah.
I'm very glad you could piece that together.
Emilia was like in my top 8-ish characters, and I had to drop her all the way down to the 20th because I had a lot of faith in the idea of your backstory, and I still like parts about it. I just think it's obviously it's a rushed execution in the anime, but there are also key details that make me think this is very like novel-ish, and I'm not sure about this. Like, as you mentioned, Pandora, like, Pandora is like a character that I expect in a series like, sorry, Index fans, Index? Something like that. Like, Index has a lot of characters that I see character designs, I'm like, oh, you know, I have an idea what this character could be about. So this kind of reminds me of that. I don't really like Betelgeuse downfall into madness either. And people said,
I think that could have been a lot better, or like done just a bit more subtly. But yeah, I wasn't a fan.
It's like I get the key details on paper, but the execution is so lame or so rushed or not built up well, and it's just a wet sock on my table.
Yeah, like the flashback starts and we see Betelgeuse, and it's like, whoa, he looks so different. Like, how did this happen? And then he just like continues to be just the most perfect nice guy you could ever fucking possibly see. He's like, he's loyal and he's gentle and he's kind and he's brave and, you know, he's like very heroic, admirable character. And then like one terrible thing happens and he kills Fortuna, and then his eyes just start bleeding and he like laughs maniacally and walks off in the distance. And that's supposed to be like how he became who he is. And I guess the logic is that, you know, because he loved Fortuna is, you know, like the witch that he was longing for throughout the first season. Or like some connection to Satala, you know, because they look very similar, just like Emilia looks very similar. And he's just a simp.
I'm just a simp.
Just a simp.
People said his transformation into madness hasn't finished. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but the start already was pretty bad, so, so why would I care?
More flashbacks?
Just wasn't hitting.
We're gonna get a Betelgeuse POV. That'd be cool.
But yeah, every character was disappointing. I still like Subaru and Emilia out of all of them the most. I guess Beatrice, because Beatrice is like the least that suffers from shitty dialogue. She just suffers from cut content altogether. So Beatrice is my favorite character now in ReZero, I guess. Yeah, Subaru was super corny. I know that's part of his character, but there's a line that has to be drawn eventually, you know. I can't be this anymore.
He's very preachy, very just like pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
And it just telling Garth get over it wasn't really nice. Not a nice thing to do, and forgiving Roswell that easily was not nice. It wasn't morally. It just isn't correct. It's not the correct way to get on with these things. Or get over with these things? I don't know. I don't expect a complex psychological breakdown. Please do less of that if possible. But I also don't. Sorry about clipping. I don't know. It was more gentle and accepting and wholesome before, and now it's just kind of generic and too forgiving. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't know. Do I want to watch more? I'm not sure, man.
I really hope that the fucking web novels will do something for me to make me feel like this formula that the show has gotten itself into like has a little more
to do with
like
the
it's
production.
a little more dynamic. It's a little, not handled as one note as it has been in the anime, because I feel like the way that like the characters and their emotional payoffs have been handled have been like very formulaic and repetitive.
Yeah.
Hope there's some difference in that in the web novel. I mean, as we know, at least the Garfield one actually results in a big fight between them that lasts. It lasts like 1 page in the light novel. It lasts like 10 pages or more in
Wasn't
the
it
fucking
50?
web novel. An insane number of
Jesus.
pages.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
So, that at least is something.
Yeah, I think we have vomited out all feelings about this. Moving on.
Still a 7 out of 10.
You make me almost contemplate my score, honestly.
I gave it a 6, but
yeah, it's like really low 7.
I'm not as invested as you guys in the characters.
When peak fiction becomes a 7 out of 10, some anger
that already hurts the
on.
balls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Horimiya, I think you finished it.
Did you drop it?
Oh, we did drop it immediately.
You both drop it, yeah. I watched the whole thing. It wasn't. I gave it a 5 in the end, just because I kind of found some of the interactions quite sweet, and some of the character interactions were quite funny as well. But just overall, it's just really boring, really generic. I'm just not really interested in these characters anymore.
Yeah, apparently, as I said before, when I hear an anime announcement with something that's about to complete, I was like, oh no. And this was one of them. Because apparently they adapted the entire manga in this one core.
Yeah, and they nerfed the hotness of the main guy halfway through.
They did. They cut his hair off.
It was not good.
It was a crime against humanity, as one might say.
And then there was some kind of weird like violence thing that Hori had some kind of fascination with. So she's kind of likes when he's mean to her. It's very weird.
The fuck?
Yeah.
When there was this Twitter moment where she almost got cancelled for being homophobic.
Hori got cancelled.
Yeah, she got cancelled for being homophobic.
Yeah, it's just a very, very mid show.
Yeah, really. I know some people are really into the manga, and I read some of the manga pages they apparently cut out. And I get the gist of it. Like, I understand that some of the dialogue can be really investing for some people and emotional, but at the end of the day, I look at it and like, this is like everything ever.
A lot of manga readers were saying it was quite rushed as well, and I can kind of feel that. Like, there were multiple like little arcs that lasted about half an episode, and then like the rest of the episode was a completely different tone. And I just thought it does feel they're putting far too much of the. I think they went right to the end of the manga as well. As far as I'm aware.
To the last panel, because I know the last panel or pages, and I saw the screenshots, and I was like,
just
"What?"
Far too much in like a really small period of time. But
the manga is like 10 years old or something.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just saying a number.
Oh.
Maybe not, maybe less, but
I'm sure it's a lot more, a lot longer running than you'd expect for like a 12 episode, 13 episode season. Yeah. It was fairly consistently good looking, I guess, throughout the whole thing. I didn't like They
Yeah.
continued with that weird pause. The screen goes white and a collar comes out of the character. That
With
happened
like the shadows when they
that
move.
that happened way too often.
I didn't like the editing at all. It's like the Shinsekai Yori director, so now he's also on my list of directors I can't stand.
But yeah,
It's getting longer.
it's all right if you like romance, watch it. I guess I thought it was about a 5 out of 10.
If you have nothing else to do.
If you got nothing else to do, if you want something to add to your mal count, go for it.
Quick one.
Very nice.
Next one, Mushoku Tensei. Yay, our favorite.
The most unproblematic anime.
I will have to reiterate some of my prior statements because I was a little defensive.
We were coping.
We were coping
hard.
We're capping and
We were
coping.
saying like, yeah, I kind of get what they were going for. Like, it's not that bad, and then it got very much worse immediately after we posted that video.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
Very bad.
He tried to steal the panties of like a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
He also molested her in her sleep.
Yeah.
And
Talks about grooming and shit.
yeah, he's
he
gonna groom
genuinely
her into his
intends to
perfect
groom the pure cute girl from the first 2 episodes.
I also
Yep.
have made the mistake to click on the characters on more and read the spoilers.
Oh,
So,
you pressed
yeah.
that as well, did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I know.
Yeah.
I think I know.
I know exactly
So I
what
know-
you're talking about.
So, spoiler, I guess he will have several wives.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, but why? And there's also going to be a religion.
How can we learn from Rudius's behavior going forward? Yes, let's give him 3 partners.
Yeah, it's kind of conflicting. Like, I really like, obviously, the production is great, but I also like the world and the characters in general.
Yeah.
Except that dad, I think that episode 3 really soured my opinion on that dad entirely. Like, can't stand that motherfucker anymore. I can't stand seeing him. Like the whole cheating shit. That pissed me off.
It's got so much potential as a show that could genuinely be great, but at every point it just holds itself back with just disgusting,
dreadful images.
I don't even like thinking about it. It's horrible.
Like, there's just no reason for him to be such a pervert, you know?
Like there was a specific episode where I think it was
there's one reason he's a pedophile.
It's very true. It was the episode where he was talking about getting the confidence to go out of the house, which I thought might have been some kind of interesting turning point because obviously he was bullied as a child. But no.
Exactly. I was so defending
back
that
to
shit.
his own stuff again.
You know, I always keep I defend something and the next episode stabs me in the back for doing that. Or I complain about something in the next episode, it completely fixes itself. And I'm like, why is this happening to me every single time? Can I just defend something and then it just commits to it? For fuck's sake. Why? This is why you never stay positive. Always be negative. It brings you way more pleasure, really. God. But yeah, I don't know what else. I think everyone has already said what is to say under the sun.
Yeah.
The creepy shit is creepy. There's no excuse to it. I did give it a 7 because I liked it. Guilty as charged. I still enjoyed it.
I couldn't. So I probably would have done the same, but I think the content of it was just that off-putting for me that I couldn't give it a positive score. So I gave it a 5.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame anyone for thinking the show's terrible. But I find it kind of annoying when sometimes in arguments about the show fans that like it get kind of thrown under the rail because of the creepy shit.
Yeah.
Because just because we like the show doesn't mean we like the creepy shit. That's kind of false equivalent, and I dislike that. Especially in reviews, like this show's getting ripped apart in reviews. And it hits a really high score, surprisingly.
But
Like,
I
it has an
think
above an 8.
I guess
you can't
privately when you don't have to make like an official statement about it, then people are like more okay with just ignoring it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think the fans are completely aware that it's there and that it is questionable, but they just need to be aware that some people just aren't going to be able to take that.
I mean, I remember when I first started watching anime and I watched like Nanatsu no Taizai, like I watched that when it first came out.
Yeah.
And I would like really loved it from the beginning, even though Meliodas was molesting Elizabeth in the first episode. You know, just like groping her boobs in her sleep, you know. And at that time, we didn't know that he was much older than she, I suppose.
Oh God.
And I just thought that like he was based because I was also young, and Elizabeth was hot, and there was this shonen MC who was just grabbing titties. I was like, king shit. And then comes season 2 around, and it's like the twist that Elizabeth is like the reincarnation of his girlfriend since 2,000 years or whatever. And like he's holding her when she was like just born as a baby, and he's like, stay away from my woman. Holding a fucking baby. That shit is gross. It's very gross. Everyone is a pedophile in Nanatsu no Taizai.
Child
That's just how it
bitches,
is.
yeah.
All of them, not even just him. It's
Every single one, female to male. Let's go.
Numerous characters in Nanatsu are fucking groomers.
It hurts. Yeah, it hurts.
All right, let's move on.
Move on. What's the next one? Gotopon no Hanayome season 2.
I did not watch this.
You did not watch. Did you read the manga?
Nope.
Read the manga.
Okay.
Yeah, shield. Already shield.
This is
Yeah,
a pretty
I'm a
solid
fan of the
adaptation,
manga.
though. And it's like one of my favorite parts
yeah.
of the manga. A lot of Nino screen time, a lot of Miku screen time. We did get to the point where Ichika falls off hard.
Yeah.
Right. She was my top one before then. But very very good show. Good character art, big titties. They show them off consistently, which is nice. And it's actually like interesting.
Yeah, it's
to follow the characters.
Really good adaptation of the source. They adapt the spreads really well. I think I praised it a little too hard on Twitter because I only gave it a 7 and people were on my ass on it because I got the spreads were adapted perfectly because I was...
Well, I gave the manga a 7.
I gave the manga an 8, very light 8 because of the ending. But yeah, what studio was it again?
A good one.
It was the Azulane studio, wasn't it? Bilibili? No. Where the fuck they were called. So I know they can adapt shit well or make it pretty, and they did a bunch of like parallel effects, and the lighting was good, and the composition was good. The only thing I didn't like sometimes was in wide shots, the character art was but usually the character art was really good. Way better than season 1. Because I thought season 1 was unwatchable visually. They also updated the mall images because of this season. Thank God. Yeah, it adapts some of the best content of the manga, and it looks nice. So that's it. One thing more. The sound mixing at points was really bad. The OST was way too loud sometimes. That's also the only other complaint I have. Yeah, that's it. Read the manga, by the way. The manga is good. One of the best harms ever. So I hope no one here has watched Redo Healer.
No.
Thank God. Moving
Nope.
on. Beastars Season 2. Let's go.
Season 2 is another one.
What I actually liked.
For the first time,
So
we'll be able to talk positively about something.
So good. You know that
Every
that
episode
Fantano
is
meme where
peak
he's just
fiction.
yelling, "Why is this so good?"
Yeah.
That's
Every
my
episode, though.
that's me with this show.
Yeah.
Why is this so
Why is
good?
this so good?
Why is it so good?
Like, the animation, as usual, on point. The music, magnificent. The character writing, amazing. The reveal of the mystery had me on the edge of my seat. I was screaming the entire time.
It's the best episode of the show.
Yeah, best episode of the show. I didn't like the opening, though. I don't like the opening.
I still like it.
I like the song.
It
I
was
don't like
okay.
the visuals. I don't like the visuals at all.
Like the only little weird thing about season 2 was like some of the more shonen-y elements, I guess, like with Legoshi on his spiritual journey, like when he eats the insect, and then there's like this
That's so
weird
funny.
dialogue with the
It was so
with the
funny,
moth.
Yeah, the moth thing that had me a little confused. Not gonna lie about it. I keep ignoring
was
it.
kinda
For
weird.
the sake.
Well, eating the insect was basically like a psychedelic, I guess.
Yeah,
He was
I will
doping.
take you
He was
on a
doping
journey.
for his fight.
yeah. It wasn't literal, but it was still kind of weird to watch. I was like, "What am I watching right now?"
But otherwise, total peak, just as good, sometimes better than season 1. 10 out of 10, almost top 10 anime of all time.
OST is beautiful again. So good.
I love it. I just love it.
It's so incredible. Everything about the show is so incredible. Like, just any scene with two characters just talking, there's so much you can see from just like their eyes and their expressions, and like where are they looking, what are they reacting to, like their hand gestures, body language. Every dynamic is so like distinct and thoroughly fleshed out, and it's just wonderful to see. Like, even if on their own the cast is not like filled with double S or triple S characters, except for the main two, they're always so fucking
Authentic.
dynamic and just flavorful scenes.
It's very authentic, and you can really tell. People always talk about character animation, but it's mostly not a thing in most other anime. But in Beastars, it's very important for every character.
And it's all
I love
done.
characterization.
Yeah,
so good.
It's all done in the way that the animal moves as well, which I find it's awesome. Just really cool. And I think it's mocap, isn't it? The majority is mocap. Some of the movements.
I mean, that's possible.
Yeah, I think they did.
Because, that's a commonly used technique.
Which is really cool. I thought especially with adding Riz in the bear, his just his movements and things were just very bear-like.
Riz and Pina are both like some of the most impactful like side characters I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, just every time they're on screen or like they're talking or anything, I love them. They're so good despite their very limited screen time.
Speaking of Pina, voiced by Yuri Kachi was so hot.
Yeah.
I just have to mention it.
Very erotic character.
Yeah, the way that he also like moves and sits, you really get the point that he's supposed to be hot. I think I liked it a lot.
He's a bishonen.
He's a player.
Yeah, it's very nice. Or when Louise sat down on the table, I was like, ooh. And the camera was angled a certain way. I was like, oh, this is kind of hot. Is this okay?
Beastars is a sexy show in the way it's directed. Like it doesn't. It's not scared to act like it.
Yeah. I'm not scared admitting it.
Beastars isn't like, oh, we're not a furry show, I promise. Like there's nothing sexual about these animals.
We are furry,
like, sex
and
is a
we
big
are
theme.
sexy.
It's a big theme, and it's very well shown through the very, very cinematic directing.
The beer also. Beer.
Bear.
The bear. They made a really good. They made really. I don't know how to say it. His face with like how he looks cute, but he's actually also really terrifying because he's so huge, and then he has this face change.
Done.
I was terrified of my skin when he had his face
so
change.
well
I
done.
was like, oh my god, I'm scared shitless right now.
Just like expressions are such an important thing for me when it comes to anime. Like my first anime was Attack on Titan season 1, which has like these incredibly visceral, intense expressions. And then there's like Beastars, which can like it has intense expressions, it has subtle expressions, and it just has like a whole bunch of them because it's so animated and like lively. Like it really feels like it comes to life on the screen in a way that I haven't really seen before.
Every time I watch a Beastars episode, I feel liberated.
It's so good.
So good. Why is this so good?
Really tasteful ED as well. I like the ED very much.
The ED is so good.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But the lyrics at the end. At the end when the lyrics come back together. So beautiful.
Yeah.
I put it in my favorite EDs immediately.
Yeah, when the ED plays in the beginning, in the final episode, that shit's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Have you seen Cells at Work?
I watched Cells at Work and Cells at Work Black, and they were like the first season of Cells at Work. Season 2 was like Cells at Work Season 1, where you just learned things, and it was kind of a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's sort of fun.
There was one really good episode though about like vaccines, which was kind of apt at this point in time. So if you're unsure about how vaccines work, watch Cells at Work Season 2. Anyone that's interested. I can't remember what episode it was, but the vaccine episode's good. And Cells at Work Black was just the same as what I had mentioned on the first. It was a body that is falling apart, so it got to look at the more kind of like extreme illnesses that people can get and how that's dealt with by the body. And it was also a 5 out of 10. There you go.
There we go. Good. I have still not finished Log Horizon. Did I watch? I watched Season 2, yeah. I was gonna start Log Horizon Season 3. Not done with it yet, so I can't talk about it. Sad. But I like Log Horizon. But I think it's getting a little bit worse. But not by much. Not by much. Not people exaggerating. Season 2 was still very good. Next actually very good show, Wonder Egg Priority.
What is going on?
What an ambitious and original anime. I was going to say original anime, because it is an original anime.
It is.
But, yeah. I enjoyed it very much, up to and including the end.
More or less the end.
We thought it had lost a little steam in the first, or after the first couple episodes. But, like, the entire second half was, like, consistently better than the previous,
I think the only point where there was any kind of issues, I think it was that was more on the production side though, was I think the female Kawaru episode, it was at 7 or 8, might have been 8 or 7,
something like that.
There was a bit of questionable stuff going on with the production. Like I think there was some specific thing where they all painted their nails certain colors. And then there was some weird, like, continuity areas where they were kind of different. And that was the only real production issue we could see on the outside. But on the inside, it looked like this show was kind of not fun to make.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's almost like movie level animation quality.
Yeah, the consistency of
pretty
that.
consistently. It's insane how good it looks for a TV anime.
It's crisp that has not been understood to be conceived.
It's kind of
this
that
level
like
of good.
it's like like the Kyoto animation kind of consistency. We don't usually see that out of Kyoto animation. So
Yeah.
to see
It
something
looks so
like this,
good.
it looks so good.
It's like it's very hard to come by to have a show that I think I don't understand that well, but I just like looking at it. Like I just love it by how much vibe and mood it has, and there's so much visual language you usually don't get. So even though episode 10 or 9 or whatever, what was that episode with the what's the
It's
name?
11, isn't it?
No, the
Frill.
Nero episode, not the Fred episode.
The nail episode. Oh,
The Nero episode was the one with the bunch of sci-fi exposition that had me really confused.
yeah.
And the Frill episode just brought in more sci-fi concepts that were kind of questionable to like introduce at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in the character drama stuff, so I hope it like wraps it up nicely in the
the
last
characters. The characters are compelling, and like when they're explored through these kind of like episodic arcs, it's always very satisfying to see like how it cuts back and forth between like the dream world and the real world, and like you find more about their traumas and their life struggles and such. So even though like the sci-fi nature of the lore isn't like, it doesn't make the most sense to me, I understand the gist of it. I understand like what's going on more or less, and I understand the themes. It's really the characters and the visuals that like bring them to life.
Yeah,
that kept me engaged.
definitely the way characters talk about things, like how things are stated and communicated with like the audio design, the visuals. It's all a little bizarre, but not like alienating.
Yeah.
And it's like mysterious, but not super confusing. So you get the gist of everything that's happening while not really understanding the full of it. And again, it has a lot of the visual language, which you can read up Twitter threads on what they mean, and then you're like, oh shit, that's nice. So like it gets carried by all of these things a little bit. Otherwise, I think it would get too overwhelming to really understand it. But I understand why some people would not really love it because of that. But it's definitely like a really good to great show, at the least. Even if like the last episode airs and it's not like really isn't going to be able to wrap up everything. I
So
think
many like
it would be still fair to say it was a great show. It could have been like a masterpiece, though. Honestly,
this could have been a 10, but I think
yeah.
a lot
I
of the
think with like you finish.
Go on. I was going to say like that a lot of the concepts that it explores are really interesting, and like you don't usually see a lot of this talked about in anime, like self-harm, for example. Ririka got that episode on that, and having like an openly like trans character involved is really interesting for me.
Yeah, it tackles very real topics in a pretty tasteful way.
Yeah,
I'd say.
definitely.
I think if we had
the only thing that I
finish.
that I didn't like consistently like was the like very clown-like colorful monsters that like represent their trauma. They were just like kind of annoying, and there was something for the characters to beat up, but like visually their designs did not like at all.
I think the monsters spoke too much sometimes.
Yeah, and then they would often explicitly state the theme.
They would explicitly state the trauma, and it was like, but I kind of get why it had to be this way because of the length. It's kind of thing like it's like one of the shows that tries too much in its episode count, but it's also like if it tried less, it would feel too thin. It's kind of this kind of complex void. So like if I don't know if I can't say it should have just been longer. Like should it have, or should have just tried less? But then would have it been as good? We don't know that.
Yeah. And who did they get to be the weird cult priest character? The monster? It was Joji Nakata, of course.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. I hope it wraps up at least the two things I really want to know. What's up with the fucking teacher? And why is he so sad in some visuals?
Yeah,
and is he actually a creep?
Is he a creep or is he not a creep?
Is he not a creep or is he just sad? Is that... And what else? And just how, I don't know, wrap up the characters and if the other characters came back or not. I don't know if they can wrap up the frill shit. Yeah. I'm really confused.
When they added that in, I think if we're bringing in like weird sci-fi concepts like that, it needs to be a bit of a longer show, because what if you just add that in like I think it was like the 10th episode, it's a lot. So yeah, music was fantastic, really like that, probably my favorite OST of the season.
Yeah, the OST is amazing. I love it, except like some dubstep tracks that were kind of weird in some scenes.
Yeah,
it's quite down, like they're just talking.
It was really like a sound I haven't really heard before from an anime.
Yeah,
I said it reminded me of Omori, the game, which also is dope.
Yeah, well, they got a.
I definitely want to like listen to the whole soundtrack if it comes out.
It comes out soon. They kind of mix. I think they had a composer do the more orchestrally sounding stuff, which was there occasionally. They also got a DJ to do the rest of the music. He's an experimental DJ called Day Mouse, who I've been learning a lot of while the show's been going on, and he's been doing stuff like this for about 10 years. And it all sounds like this. Very cool experimentally stuff. So, yeah, I hope he does more anime.
Yeah. Definitely, whatever happens, I want more anime from the staff, whoever they are.
They're clearly very ambitious and talented.
But maybe Cloverworks needs to chill a little bit. Like, they can't pump out an original work and then a sequel adaptation parallelly, and what else did they do? Was the third thing. And Horimiya, and then they just rush an entire manga. Like, chill. Pick one project. You can't do it. Stop.
And use those staff on
Cloverworks and Mappa making 1 million anime every year.
They really are the A1.
And it seemed like Sakuga Twitter kind of saved this show as well in the last few episodes, just because they didn't have the animation staff, so they used a lot of people on Twitter.
Oh, they hired them.
They found,
didn't know them. That's cool.
That's what like Mappa does too. It's become kind of like a shady business practice in the industry where like they'll go to Twitter and hire foreign animators to like fill in the gaps because of their poor scheduling, and then not like pay or treat them like proper employees. You know.
I swear this. Why do I like anime? It's so shady, man. Okay, moving on. So I'm a spider, so what? I know actually Hiki watches this show as well.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
I think it's really cool, but the CG is just so bad.
It's so bad. Is the Berserk one.
Yeah.
Apparently, and it shows. But I really like the show.
Yeah.
I think the character designs are really on point. The character art can look really good, and some of the action can be good. But there's so many animation errors sometimes. Like, I posted a clip where this character was coming out of the woods and it just didn't move.
She was like moonwalking on the spot.
It was moonwalking on the spot, and there was some animation cuts that got me really cross-eyed sometimes, especially with the spider. But I think if you can get over the Aoyuki exposition dump, it can be a really interesting isekai. I've read like the first volume of the novel now because I was that interested. It has an interesting world, and it has like a free storyline structure where it's from different point of views, which is really interesting to me. Yeah, it has really interesting concepts. And I saw the scores like at a 7 now, so people keep enjoying it more, it seems. I enjoy it. I am
Yeah.
having fun.
It's chill.
Okay, have you finished Kemono Jihen?
Yeah, I finished Kemono Jihen.
Okay, what's the verdict? Because we dropped it. Even though I shielded it so hard at the start, I dropped it.
It was okay.
Yeah, basically.
It just kept on that kind of episodic thing where they were learning more about the characters in general. Like they went into the Spider Boy's past, which was kind of creepy. It has the whole show has this kind of like creepy vibe behind all like the shonen-y stuff, which I think's really, really cool. But basically it was just going through the each of the main group had like little character arcs. So they had an arc on the Spider Boy and then the Ice Boy as well. And it kind of finished on the end of his arc.
Yeah, it's like really generic structure.
It's kind of like generic shonen-y stuff.
Which is why we dropped it, because you're like, oh, okay, I got the gist, so I can go, you know.
Yeah, like I probably wouldn't watch another season of it, but it's okay.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Okay, Skate. Let's go.
Let's go.
Skating
the
boys.
I'm having fun show. Yeah, I didn't actually expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I was like, oh, Bones, what the fuck? What is this?
It's like,
I was like,
how over the top can we get? Let's do it.
Yeah.
They did everything with this show. I love it so much.
The visuals are really nice.
At first, people were making fun of Kuroko for being like over the top. Then it was Blue Lock, and now Skate is the most flamboyant and over the top about skating.
Probably my favorite villain in a long time.
Yeah, he was
Adam is just so silly.
The OST is so good in this show. I want it so bad.
Corrupt politician that also skates in a matador outfit. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Furiously gay. It's the best thing ever.
Furiously gay. Yeah, the visuals were really good. I just had fun every episode. The characters are really likable. I do think some melodrama was annoying though.
Yeah, some of the melodrama was kind of predictable. I thought it was good. It went exactly the way I thought it would.
Yeah, exactly.
The last episode of this show was a trip.
It was a trip. What I didn't like about the white-haired boy is like the thing with his dad was like, what was it again? Oh wait, like he dreamed of him and it was like just have fun or something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is so corny, but whatever, I guess.
But it's just so fun.
Corny ass hallucination of his dad. And I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. Let's just continue.
If I could like encapsulate this show in one small scene, it was when Adam was falling down the cliff and Langer comes over the top of him in a skateboard and it just goes into the bottom of his skateboard and it just says fun. That is Skate.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like so on the nose corny, but it's like so genuine at the same time. It's great. It's like it's really rule of cool to the maximum where you're like, can you really upon your suspension of disbelief a little bit and just enjoy it? Which I haven't had in a long time, really, honestly.
And one really cool thing that I found out after the show had finished airing is on Twitter, someone had shown the way some of the skaters skate. Like, you know, what was the little boy called? I've forgotten his name. Mia? Yeah, Mia. Yeah. His skateboarding style was completely inspired by a real life skateboarder. And they showed some of like the moves that he does, and they've kind of copied similar moves and stuff. Frame by frame, which is really cool. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, Mia was like my favorite at the start because I just like his design. And he has like his mini arc to start, but then he just kind of fell off and was just screaming the
Okay, it was
character's
just a
name
guy
throughout the
in the
show.
background.
He was just background character, was like, ah, no, please stop the whole time. I'm like, okay, you are kind of lame now. That's sad. But otherwise, it was good. I
Really
liked it.
good.
I gave it a
loved
strong 7.
Yeah. I have it like a decent 7.
I gave it an 8.
Ooh,
8.
loser.
8. Skate out of 10.
Okay.
I wasn't overly invested in much in particular. It was just like good fun
Yeah,
throughout.
that's fair. Please tell me you didn't finish Tomosaki.
I didn't.
Oh, thank God.
I
I
think
dropped that shit.
I think Non Biyori is the only one.
It's Yuru Camp and Non Biyori, and then we should be done. Yeah. Oh, and B, I guess, but what can I even say about that show? Let's start with 1.
Let's not.
Non Biyori Nonstop, same as ever. Consistently good when you enjoy it. The only thing I noticed with this season was the production was kind of at points.
Yeah, this was the first season of Non Biyori that I've seen kind of like a very slight drop off in production. Like there was some like weird off CG at points that I didn't like, but
yeah, sometimes the characters in the backgrounds didn't blend in that well, and the background sometimes didn't look as good, but it's still a lot of good looking stuff.
Oh, and the episode where Natsumi put the bin on her head, the bin was like CG, and that really stuck out.
I don't
she was
remember
like,
that,
she was put like a bin or something on the top of her head and was like a superhero for like half the episode, just chasing a small child around. The bin was all CG. It didn't look good.
This seems to be like the last season, though.
No.
The final episode, like adapted the final chapter, which recently ended, I think.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
No.
So same with.
I was hoping for more.
Everything is saying like, this is not. It's not. Every day is the same because the weather changes, all that stuff. That was like the last chapter.
Oh,
apparently.
Christ.
Ian told me that. I was like, no, I wanted more, but it felt final.
In a hole.
Hmm?
I'm gonna roll up in a hole and cry.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the manga, I guess.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna
probably
read
some
the manga.
chapters that haven't been adapted. And I'm a completionist now, so I have to finish it. But yeah, enjoyable, consistently good. If you like cute girls, even if you don't like them, like me, you will probably enjoy it because I actually like it. So, strong 7 as usual for me.
Yeah.
Yuru Camp, this was just a sleeping season for me. I didn't care at all. Honestly, like, I was just asleep the entire time.
I just thought I don't think it was good as the first season. It kind of, I don't know, it just didn't have that same magic as the first season, but I still enjoyed watching it. I like these characters, so I like them just being dumb and doing dumb things.
My problem is I don't like most of the characters. I like Rin, and I can stand Nadeshiko, but everyone else is just, why are you here? The new girl was fine, but she wasn't really that present, I felt. And most of the episodes were really focused on the other characters, so I was like, why am I watching this? This is like the 3rd episode without Rin. Why am I watching this?
I think we spoke about this a while ago, me and F, about these cute girls shows, and a lot of the time, if to get really invested in them, you really just need to get the vibe of it, and if you don't get that vibe, then you're just not going to enjoy it at all. Like the vibe of the characters and the atmosphere of the show. I think Non Biyori does a really good job of that. Yuru Camp, because it's just teaching you things and doing a lot of things like that, it's a bit different. So, yeah.
You have to vibe with the character dynamic so you can vibe with the show.
Exactly.
So yeah, I gave it a try. I gave it a 5, but I'm not going to watch more if there's going to be more.
I guess we haven't... A show we haven't mentioned that might be worth just saying something about is I didn't think I was going to enjoy JJK so much.
Yeah. JJK was the last one I was going to mention.
Yeah.
Crit.
Yeah.
Speak.
I haven't seen the show in question.
Jujutsu Kaisen?
Oh, I thought we were still talking about Yuru Camp.
No. We're talking about JJK now. Please pay attention.
Okay.
We're talking about cute things, so...
He just passed on.
He just switched off.
Very cute. No, I quite enjoyed Jujutsu Kaisen in the second half. We shit on it for like 40 minutes in our previous seasonal first impressions, but it really found its groove with like the use of music, and the animation was amazing. It just really knew how to like wring the most out of the cool moments, and it hit nice.
I got kind of upset that in fact I did enjoy myself in the second half. There's still obviously things I dislike about it, but I think like how the music and the visuals really found its footing in the second half, because that was a huge complaint of mine in the first half. And like, yeah, the villains are cool. I still don't vibe with the characters much, but they work together well for what they are.
Yeah.
The action was super cool. It looked great. So I'm like, what the hell? Why won't we just give my hero to Mappa? Apparently they got that shit better figured out. I was so upset. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Sadly, for me. So I might watch season 2, I guess, but definitely not going to read the manga. Fuck that. Anime only. Just a question to Hiki. Have you finished Higurashi?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was terrible, I think.
I just really don't like Higurashi. Like, it's when you've got a show that is so long. This was like 24 episodes, might even be longer, and it's not actually finished yet. They're doing like another season, which I can't be bothered to watch. The slice of life stuff just is not good at all.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And it just makes you so much less invested in the weird stuff that's going on. Like, this could be like a 12 episode. No, honestly, this could probably be a 6 episode show if you took all the slice of life stuff out. It's just that unnecessary.
But don't you understand? It's very important for the characterization.
But it's not. I know what the characters are like already. So yeah, I didn't like it very much. I didn't like the character designs at all. They still sucked.
Have you finished Vlad Love?
Yeah, it was kind of boring.
Yeah, it was also on the
Oshi is just doing like a being weird for about 12
the comedy
episodes.
and the editing wasn't really it.
Yeah, I didn't
like,
vibe with the comedy very much. This is kind of only a very specific type of person would get this, and it's not me.
Yeah, it's a niche. Well, as I already mentioned, video beginning Succession. What can I say about it? It was terrible, awful. I mean, just look at the poster. Poor incompetence. I don't even know what. I can't even explain the plot because it was so. What even happened? Nothing happened. I don't know. Just end this podcast. We are done. Yeah, these were our conclusive thoughts on the anime season. And I hope you enjoyed it. Also, goodbye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.